really love to see, not just overseas, the Canadian format of basketball.
Hey, Wayne Dawkins here, a trailblazer of Canadian basketball as well as Jamaican basketball now. And I'd like to answer Cameron and Mace's question about what's going on in Canada. Well, what's going on in Canada is, many years ago we started a journey of perfecting a system that would mimic the U.S. And, we created that first pipeline. Some of us trailblazers, we created that first pipeline into the U.S. with the AAU circuit, and then eventually mimicking prep programs and recruiting events and national high school all-star games. So really it wasn't a top-down effort. It was really a grassroots effort to build a system that would allow us to benefit from our close proximity to the U.S. and everything that we are gaining and learning from them. The fact that we either perfected it or improved on it is awesome, and that's a credit to the individuals that are pushing the game forward for Canada. But really, we haven't created anything new in Canada. We just basically took what the U.S. was doing and learned from it, and now our kids are benefiting from it. And for myself, that blueprint is essentially what taking it into Jamaica. And we're off to a great start in Jamaica, doing the exact same thing. So to answer Cameron's question, I'm going to focus on a few things. One, there had to be a system there before, and that system really needed to be imploded in order to allow for the explosion that you see today. And a lot of things that you see in Canada are essentially things that we saw the U.S. doing. And there were several of us trailblazers and pioneers who said, hey, we need to just mimic what's working. So some of the things that we saw working was, an AAU circuit. So we started AAU teams, and that was early 90s. And, some of the guys that are leaders in it, top guys in it, like Shane James and, Vidal Messiah, Northern King, Shane James, Canada Elite. These are our alumni. These are guys that when they were kids, they were playing for us in high school. So they obviously learned the system and saw the benefits of it for themselves, and went on to perfect it and take it to another level. The other thing that was important that we learned was we are sending our kids to prep programs in the U.S. and we understand the importance of pooling our talent. The importance of bringing our top talent together to compete and to train. At that time with us, grassroots. Then eventually phase one, what we did, we just start pulling the top talent from all around and concentrating that into one group, whether that's to, go on AAU trips or start prep programs or, to host national high school all-star games. The other thing that was really important, is celebrating our talent and bringing our top talent from across the country together. And we, in 2001, we started the first National High School All-Star Game. This was something where, there was a lot of local high school All-Star games, but there was nothing that could mimic the McDonald All-American games that we saw. And, eventually that's something that we ran for 12 years. Shout out to Saeed Al-Naji and Enro Russell that helped start that. But that, finished at the Air Canada Center and ran for 12 years. And some of the biggest names in Canadian basketball played in that event. And it was a real celebration of Canadian talent. It really sparked, a lot of energy and enthusiasm around the game as far as identifying talent. Scouting and recruiting events. We held some of the biggest scouting recruiting events. I'll never forget Jim Calhoun coming into Jungle, renting a private jet to come to Jungle and see Denham Brown and some of our top guys, and, seeing Rick Majerus and Jaden Finch and meeting with him there, and, seeing some of the biggest names and coaches coming up for our recruiting and scouting events that we were hosting. That was a very important thing in terms of being able to encourage the kids, showcase the talent, and eventually continue to create that explosion around the game. Cameron, essentially what we did was we perfected that pipeline into the U.S. and mimicked the system that was there in the U.S. So when you look at prep programs, AU teams on the circuit, national high school all-star games, major recruiting events, global competition at the youth level. I mean, these are all things that we saw the U.S. doing, and there's very select trailblazers and pioneers at the time that said, hey, you know what, we want this for our kids. We need this for our kids in order for them to elevate to a next level, and and that's what we did. I invite you to check out some more. I've written some blogs on my blog site, Journey of an Elite One. It's a little bit more in-depth look into some of the events and that took place and over time, as well as some of the individuals that have impacted the Canadian game along the way, some other trailblazers, and look forward to talking about it more with some of the individuals. Congratulations to Shai Gilgeous on winning MVP, and all the other Canadian guys that are showing out in the NBA and and having a lot of success